According to reports, West Ham have got 6 bids in for 6 different players at the minute. Now, while it might feel a little bit scattergun at the moment, I get it, and I actually think it's quite a good strategy, but I'll explain why towards the end of the video. But first, let's take a look at those 6, because I feel confident that we know 5 of them. We possibly even know the 6th one as well, but there might be a little bit of guesswork for that player. But let's discuss them. So first up, we've got Carlos Borges, Manchester City winger. At the end of last week, Fabrizio Romano said there's a verbal agreement in place between West Ham and Manchester City. It's gone quiet in the last few days, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm certainly not panicking at the moment anyway. That old phrase, no news is good news. Now, it's not always applicable. You can't apply that to every set of circumstances, but I do feel that this is one of those occasions where you can say that, because if it had gone wrong, or it was going wrong, I think we'd have heard about it. So because we've heard nothing, and we've had a couple of mini updates between then and now. Fabrizio Romano's done a tweet. He seems confident that this is still happening. Ex-West Ham employees said it's at advanced stages. So hopefully it's just a case of dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and Borges will become a hammer. So fingers crossed, but that's certainly one of the bids that we know is in. Now, when that report came out, we quickly discovered soon after that Connor Gallagher, we bid for Connor Gallagher up to 40 million. It's been rejected. We'll discuss that. But Gallagher's number 2, Scott McTominay number 3, James Ward-Prowse, which is the big one today, he's bid number 4. Edson Alvarez at Ajax, I feel like that bid's still going. So that's bid number 5. So the 6th one is where you do a little bit of guesswork. Is it Zakaria? Is that bid still live? Possibly. I don't think it's Polina. I believe we have bid for Polina. I believe we bid twice for him. But that second bid of 50 million got knocked back. I do believe the reports that it's maybe getting a little bit rich for us. But also Polina's got injured. So because of that injury, I'd imagine that he's no longer one of the 6 players that we are currently bidding for. So that would leave a sort of an opening. Do we have a bidding for a left back? There's been talks that apparently been bidding for a French left back. Maybe that's the 6th player. It might be someone we don't know. I don't know. But it's anyone's guess really. But apparently we've got bids in for 6 players. The big one today though is James Ward-Prowse. So the latest reports are that we'd sort of bid 25 million. But that seems a little bit, I'm not sure how much to believe that report, but the report that I do believe, or I'm inclined to believe, is that there's talks are ongoing. Just simple as this. Talks are ongoing between West Ham and Southampton today, and Southampton are giving West Ham encouragement that they're willing to sell James Ward-Prowse for less than their initial valuation of 40 million. Hopefully it'll be a bit closer to West Ham's valuation of 25 million. But certainly talks are ongoing, so much so that via the Southampton side of reporting of things on this one is that Ward-Prowse will not be playing tonight. Southampton take on Bournemouth in a pre-season friendly. James Ward-Prowse is fit, he's able to play, but he will not feature. Now if that's true, so when we get the lineups tonight for that game, if Ward-Prowse is not there, that'd be interesting because A, he's been left out, he's been looked after. That would suggest that talks between West Ham and Southampton are going really well. Or another club, there could be another club that's gone after James Ward-Prowse. However, I struggle to convince myself that there's another club out there that would be willing to pay 30 million maybe for James Ward-Prowse. There might be, but I don't feel there's going to be much competition for West Ham should we go after Ward-Prowse, should those reports be true. So if he's not included, that'd be interesting. But also what it does do is it means that Russell Martin's going to have to answer the questions. The reporters will be saying to Russell Martin, where is your captain? Why is Ward-Prowse not playing today? And it'll be interesting to see what he says regarding this transfer rumour. Now, before I go any further, this video is sponsored by the OneFootball app. It's the best place to keep up to date with all your West Ham news. All the transfer stuff I'm discussing in this video is already on the OneFootball app. But not only can you keep up with West Ham news, you can keep up with the Southampton news. So tonight, you can go on the OneFootball app, go through to the Southampton page and have a look and see what their news is, because you will be able to find their lineup for the friendly as they take on Bournemouth tonight. The best thing is the OneFootball app is completely free. You pay nothing. You can download it via the link in description or the QR code that's on your screen currently. And when you sign up, you select what you want to follow. You want to follow West Ham, so I follow Scotland as well, and I also follow the Premier League, because I want the big news from around the Premier League as well. Then once you load it up, click on profile, you've got your badges there of what you follow, you click on the West Ham badge and there's all your news. Just scroll, you get all the major headlines, any articles you wish to read, click on it, you can swipe back, and then not only has it got all the news, it's got stats, it's got fixtures, it's got results, everything you need to follow your football club is on the OneFootball app. Get it downloaded and give it a try. Now back to the James Ward-Prowse thing. So that's the latest news. Talks are going really well. For 25 million, I'm far more open to it than I was a month ago when it was rumoured to be 40. And I stand by that. I think 40 million is too much for James Ward-Prowse. 25 million, it's a bit easier to stomach. And I think he's a decent Premier League centre midfielder. I think that's all he is. He's decent. He's not superb. He's not amazing. He's a decent player. But he also carries a threat from set pieces, which is good. But there's listen. There's a bit of me that's a little bit concerned that we've lost our set-piece coach. Nevin's left, and it was widely regarded that since he rocked up with David Moyes, he's the one in charge of set-pieces. And it's been something we've been relatively strong at and consistent at. Now, there has been a patch last season. We weren't great at them till the end of the season, so Nevin was still here. So we did have a dip in our set-piece performances. But now we've got, like, what I would consider to be one of the best dead ball specialists in European football, and I include everything, not just scoring direct free kicks, but corners and sort of long free kicks as well. His delivery for crosses as well is fantastic. Ward-Prowse is unbelievable at set pieces. So we've now got a guy that's just going to immediately take over from Bowen, from Fornals, from Creswell. Just get you lot, get out of the way. This is the guy that's taking all our set pieces now. But the coach is gone. We've lost our set piece coach. We might not need one because Ward-Prowse's deliveries are so good that sometimes I think you don't really... Defensively, certainly we do. We need a set-piece coach to do the defensive work. But in terms of the offensive side of it, I think you can sometimes get away with just having a really good set-piece taker and that is it. But the guy that was responsible for our coaches for our set pieces he's disappeared. Now, what I will say about Nevin's set pieces, while we were strong at them when we scored goals from them, we were never crafty at them. If you watch Brentford take their set pieces, the way they train on them, they come up with strategies. They only get one chance at it during a game. It might go short, ping it to the guy in the edge of the box and he has a shot, something like that. They'll often have these set plays where they've come up with a little bit of a plan. We don't really do that, and we just sort of just cross it into the box. Now, obviously, where they're aiming to target, the runners have all got specific roles. Of course, they've got that. But you know what I'm trying to say. There's nothing really genius about our set pieces. But anyway, the set piece coach is gone. We're buying a set piece king. Brilliant. I'm okay with the signing of Ward-Prowse for 25 million. I'm not doing cartwheels about it, but it could be a lot worse. Be interesting if he gets the captain's armband. I think that's the big question, really, because obviously Moyes was asked about it in Australia. He said he hadn't decided. His reasoning for not deciding was a bit poor, which is Rice has only left a few days ago. Okay, but that doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't really answer why you don't have a new captain yet. That's why your captain's no longer here, but not why you've not got a new one. But the fact that Moyes didn't name anyone of that would suggest possibly that he's looking to bring someone in. It might be Harry Maguire. I mean, that sixth player could be Harry Maguire. I don't know. But I wonder if we do get Ward-Prowse. I do wonder if he gets that captain's armband. My concern with signing Ward-Prowse is still the same one as it would be about signing Gallagher or McTominay. Is Souček getting dropped? Because Ward-Prowse cannot play defensively. He's not a replacement for Declan Rice. He's somebody that we could have signed while we had Declan Rice to play alongside Rice and Paqueta in that midfield. So we'd still need a defensive midfielder if we sign James Ward-Prowse. We can't have a midfield of Souček, Ward-Prowse and Paqueta. We just can't do it. It will not work. So that's my concern, because I'm still not convinced that Souček will get dropped. I'm not convinced. I hope he does. I hope that Moyes has got a plan. I'm not too sure. Now, the news last night was interesting. 40 million bid for Connor Gallagher, which has been rejected by Chelsea, but we might go in again with a 43 million pound bid. It's quite a chunky first bid. It's quite a big one, because there's no way we go in. If we decided that 40 million is our maximum bid for Connor Gallagher, there's no way our first bid's 40 million. You don't go in with your maximum bid, the first time bid, and that's it. So it's interesting that we've gone in with 40. That's quite a big bid to go in with originally, expecting it to get rejected, then to go in with the second one. But the second one's apparently going to be 43, so it's not a big jump. As for Connor Gallagher, I like him. I want to sign him after his loan at West Brom. I was very impressed with what he did at West Brom, and I thought he would suit us back then. So I still want him at West Ham. My concern with Gallagher is where he plays. I think Connor Gallagher's best work, from what I've seen from him, which is obviously coming a Crystal Palace shirt, is between is in like the final third, really, between the opposition's 18-yarder and the halfway line, pressing, helping the striker press the defence. That's where I've been impressed by Connor Gallagher. And I don't want to see my centre midfielder doing that. I think Gallagher would almost be Paqueta's replacement to some extent. And obviously we're not going to be selling Paqueta, but if we had a midfielder, a defensive midfielder, Gallagher and Paqueta, it would be fun to watch and we'd get plenty of goals from that midfield. I do think it'd be quite open though. I think Gallagher's... WardProwse is far more disciplined positionally than what Connor Gallagher is. Let's just say hypothetically we signed Alvarez as a defensive midfielder and we played WardProwse next to him. I think defensively, I think we'd be okay. Offensively, I think we'd be okay as well. But we had Alvarez, Gallagher, and then Paqueta. I think we're going to concede a few goals. I think we'll score more as well. But I've always just seen Gallagher as sort of like an advanced centre midfielder, if that makes sense, where he'd be what Paqueta does, which is try and support the striker, try and press their defence up the pitch. So I'm a little bit wary by Gallagher being deeper in midfield in a much more disciplined position. I think he's decent enough on the ball. I think he's quite aggressive, still feels very erratic, but he is only 23 years of age, and so you can still mould him, you can still train him and develop him a bit. 40 million, it's expensive, but I feel like, not necessarily guarantees you goals, but you feel confident that Gallagher will get goals for you in midfield. And that's important. And all three midfielders were being linked with strongly at the minute bring goals with them. WardProwse brings goals just from a different way. He brings goals from direct free kicks. Gallagher brings goals from arriving late on in the box. And there's less evidence for the last one, but I've made my case, right? Scott McTominay, I've made my case in the past. You know I like him. And the Man United Scott McTominay is different to the Scotland McTominay. There's two different versions of it. Man United play him deeper in a more defensive midfield. The McFred pivot going on that they had a couple of seasons ago, it wasn't great to watch. He's not the best defensive midfielder in the league, and this is why, like I said, I did a video dedicated to McTominay, but for those that haven't seen it, because it was a couple of months ago now, I don't want him to play defensive midfield. I don't want McTominay next to WardProwse. I don't like that version of him. McTominay next to Alvarez, yes, one that can get forward, that one that can score goals, because he will score goals. 5 and 4 for Scotland. For Scotland, last time I mentioned this, I know I mentioned it before, but when I did that video and I was talking about how Scott McTominay has scored 5 and 4, and he's just different. He's a different player for Scotland. He's allowed to get forward, and somebody called me stupid for assuming he'd score 5 and 4 for West Ham because he's not playing next to Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes, who I didn't know played for Scotland, but turns out they obviously do. But there you go. But anyway, McTominay, I'd love him at West Ham, but the price tag of 45 million, even I'm going to gulp at that and say that's a bit expensive. I think if it was 45 between Gallagher and McTominay for 45 million, I think I'd be inclined to go for Connor Gallagher. I think both would work well under David Moyes. I think WardProwse would work well under David Moyes, and this feels like a Moyes player. Whichever one of those three we get, if we do get them, it feels like a Moyes choice. And my argument remains the same. When we go to buy our centre midfielders, they have to be players that Moyes will play straight away. We cannot afford to bring in a player that Moyes perhaps isn't too keen on because he won't play them. He will stick with Thomas Souček. He will. Moyes will stick with Souček, and he will put the other guy on the bench if it's not a choice that Moyes has made. So we need to allow the manager to pick the centre midfielders on this one, so that they go straight into the team, because we cannot afford to start the season with Downs and Souček. We can't. I've already almost got nightmares about something that's not even happened yet against Bournemouth. So we can't allow that to happen. That's why bringing in Borges is completely different. He doesn't need to go straight into the starting 11. You can allow down. I think someone said yesterday's video, how many minutes do you think Borges will get under David Moyes? I said Flynn Downs-esque minutes. And West Ham fans will know what I mean by this. He'll get enough game time, but not loads of game time. When there's an opportunity, he'll get it. But you'll always feel like he can maybe get more. And that's okay for Borges in his first full season in a senior squad in the Premier League. That's fine. We've got Ben Rama that can play there. Fornals can play there. Cornet can play there. Those amount of minutes for Borges is fine. That's acceptable. But those amount of minutes for a centre midfielder is going to cost us 30 million. That's not acceptable. So Moyes, I feel, should be allowed to bring in the centre midfielders he wants, that he will play. But on the other hand, I think Steidin should be allowed to bring in those younger players that will be first choice in a year or 2 years' time. But for this season, they can get Flint Downs-esque minutes to get ready for next season. So there's a balance to be had. There's a compromise to be had between Moyes and Steidin. I think it feels like we're going down that route at the minute by letting Moyes have his sort of picks for centre midfield. As for Edson Alvarez, we'll have to wait and see, but it might be that's maybe forced upon West Ham because of Polinia's injury. So there you go. That's the bids that we've had in apparently. Now the funny thing with the report was I'll get it up, but 6'2" I think was the one leading with the fact that we've got bids in for 6 players. It's sort of been backed up by the likes of ex-West Ham employees as well. But on Claret Hugh, it did tickle me. This is what it said. It said that the surprising statement to come out of our contact this morning was that we have 6 offers in at the moment, and we'll take the first 3 on whom we have agreement. So Claret Hugh is suggesting that of those 6 players that we've got bids in, the first 3 clubs that agree something with us, we'll just take those players. Now that wasn't in quotation marks, and this is like yesterday said, I believe when Claret Hugh said our top source, our top insider have told us this, quotation mark, blah blah blah, quotation mark. I believe that bit in the quotation has arrived. There was none of that in that. It feels more of an opinion piece. Now, I've seen a bit of criticism for our strategy in the sense that we're just bidding for McTominay, bidding for WardProwse, and bidding for Gallagher. Because we're not going to sign all of them. To be honest with you, I don't want to sign 2. I want to sign one of those plus Alvarez. Defensive midfielder plus centre midfielder. They come into those ones. But anyway, I don't mind this strategy. I quite like it, actually. The fact that we are going after Gallagher and saying, right, well, what do you want, Chelsea? How much is he? Man U, how much is McTominay? Trying to find out how much we had to pay for these, and then evaluating which one is the best value for the deal. It might not be the cheapest one. It might be just find out the best deal. Because the last thing I'd want is we go after Connor Gallagher, spend 3 or 4 days negotiating with Chelsea, decide it's a bit too expensive for us, and then we start negotiating with Man United for Scott McTominay. We can't afford that. We're running out of time before the season starts. So to put bids in for numerous players at the same time, I don't mind it. Because like I said, I appreciate it might feel a bit scattergun. But I think Gallagher, Ward-Prowse and McTominay, they're not completely identical players. But there are similarities between them. And where they're going to play is very similar in the team. So I don't feel it's scattergun. Like I said it before, I think scattergun would be if we bid for 6 players, but one was a left back, one was a left winger, got a centre midfielder, a striker, centre back and a goalkeeper. That is scattergun. But to hone in on 3 players to play a specific position and a specific role in your team and bid for all 3 at the same time, I don't think that's scattergun. I think it's just a wise thing to do. Evaluate your options. Chelsea will know we're bidding for Ward-Prowse and McTominay at the same time and vice versa. So they'll know that that player isn't the only one. There's no gun to our head at the minute. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, Ward-Prowse at the minute appears to be the most likely one, and that talks are going well between West Ham and Southampton. But like I said, the Saints play a friendly tonight against Bournemouth. It'll be very interesting if Ward-Prowse is included or excluded. The last thing I will say, I forgot to add it in, I'm just reading my little notes here. Flint Downs has refused to be a part of the deal for Ward-Prowse. We'll discuss it another day, actually, because there's something I want to say about that. And it's 18 minutes. Sorry. Right, I'm going now. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're around here. I'll catch you tomorrow.